Welcome to HP FanFiction. Support me by subscribing the channel. Also, like and share the video to keep me motivated to make more videos like these. Harry knocked twice on the door before opening it and walked inside his father's studio. James was sitting already behind his deck, waiting for him. As soon as Harry sat down, his father pushed a newspaper towards him. Harry took a glance at the front page. He was already very familiar with this one. It had a picture of Lucius Malfoy followed by an article about his murder and how the Aurora were incompetent for failing to find the culprit. The Aurora department as a whole has been getting a lot of criticism lately, the source of most of it being the Prophet newspaper. "Did you do this?" His father did not beat around the bush and asked directly. "Yes," Harry answered with the same directness. James looked surprised for a moment. It could be because he didn't truly expect his son to be the one responsible, or maybe because he didn't think that Harry would admit it so quickly. "How? No. Why did you do that, Harry?" "Among other things, I needed information about Voldemort's plans. Malfoy has always been one of his most trusted followers. He also hired an assassin to kill Neville, so it's not like the man was innocent by any means." "That's not the point, Harry. You can't decide that by yourself. Look, I understand you come from a different era and fought in a bloody war, but here and now we have laws and rules we must respect, otherwise everything collapses. I do understand what you are trying to say, but this was a necessary measure. Remaining in the dark about that maniac plans just puts everyone in massive danger." James let out a sigh. He knew there was no point in continuing that argument. Their points of view were very different. "And, did you get the information you wanted so badly?" "I doubt it was easy to make that man talk. It wasn't that hard, and I did find some interesting things. But instead of telling you, it's best if I show you. Do you have pensive here?" James made a shocked face. "A pensive? Harry, do you know how rare those things are? Even in the entire ministry we only have two, and one of them is for the exclusive use of the unspeakables." Is that so? That's fine then. I had a chance to acquire one very recently. Hold on. Let me call him first." "Call who?" James looked very confused now. "Dobby, come here," Harry called. After a loud pop, an elf appeared on top of the desk. "Master Harry called?" "Master Harry, son, where did you get a house elf from?" "Wait, did he say Dobby? That name sounds familiar." James muttered. Harry was about to address the elf when saw his father slam his hands on the desk. "Dobby, that's Malfoy's house elf. We have been looking for him since the murder," shouted his father. "Yes, he was," admitted Harry. "Lady Malfoy and her son called for him repeatedly but never appeared in front of them. We all assumed he was killed the same day that Malfoy did." James's eyes moved from the elf to his son. "Dobby doesn't answer to evil masters anymore," shouted the elf, taking James by surprise. "Dobby only answers to Master Harry and no one else. Master Harry saved Dobby." "Okay, Dobby, I think he understands now," said Harry. The elf nodded. "Is there something Master Harry needs of Dobby?" "There is. Remember that room in Hogwarts where I store things?" "Dobby knows. Good. I need something called a pensive. It looks like a small fountain made of white marble. There is a silver liquid inside it. I need you to bring it here with utmost care." "Right away, Master Harry." The elf disappeared. "So you are his master now? That would explain how he got through the house protections." Harry shrugged. "It wasn't something I planned. Dobby came to find me at Hogwarts. He had been wandering around for weeks without knowing what to do with his newfound freedom. Malfoy was needlessly cruel to him, but it gave him a purpose, so I told him that if he wanted he could come to work for me, and Dobby agreed. It was true he didn't plan for this, but having Dobby back with him has been a coincidence he was very happy about. Now he could give his old friend a family that would treat him properly." "I see. Is he going to live here from now on?" "That would be great. I don't know for how long he can stay at Hogwarts before Dumbledore notices he has an extra elf in the kitchens. We will need to inform the family and Mepsy, of course." They heard another pop near the entrance of the room. Harry turned around and saw Dobby levitating the pensive with his magic. "Just leave it over here," Harry pointed. "Thank you, Dobby." "No problem, Master Harry. Should I go back to the castle?" "No need. This will be your house from now on. But we must inform my mother and the other house elf before you can move around freely. For the moment, stay right here. My father and I have a few more things to discuss." Dobby nodded happily. Dobby has a new home. James had left his seat and was now observing the pensive with fascination. "You really got a pensive?" by Merlin. "Where did you—" It was at that moment that James noticed an inscription at the base of the pensive. The word Malfoy was beautifully carved in the marble. "Harry, you stole this from Malfoy," James huffed angrily. "Technically, Dobby stole it." Harry pointed at the elf. "Dobby did," the elf admitted proudly. "Harry," James frowned. The man didn't need it anymore. James was about to shout again when Harry stopped him. "Wait until you see this. I can guarantee that you won't care about a few stolen items afterward." "A few?" James raised an eyebrow. Harry got next to the pensive and used his wand to pull a strand of memories that he carefully deposited inside the silvery liquid. "Go ahead. Aina, remember to comment, vote and/or leave a review if you have the time. Those things help me a lot and I would really appreciate it. You can support me on Patreon if you like, and get 10 advanced chapters. Patreon.com Cryogenics. Comment. 12 comment. Vote. Chapter 62. Chapter 62. Moral Dilemma. Disclaimer. Harry Potter and all of its characters belong to J.K. Rowling. I own nothing but the original characters I make. Dialogue. Thoughts. Parseltongue. Chapter 62. Moral Dilemma. James looked much paler when his face came out of the pensive. "Oh, that bastard. I can't believe. Malfoy, they think they can just go after my family? Do you understand now?" Harry asked calmly. James went back to his desk and collapsed on the chair. He took a minute to collect himself before speaking again. "I do understand what is at stake, Harry, but don't think you can gloss over everything I saw you do in there using crucios to torture, and the killing curse. Those are their way of doing things." Harry did not react in the least. "Would it have been more morally acceptable if I had tortured and killed that man using legal spells? I could have conjured 100 needles to stab him all over and finished him by blowing his head with a reducto. Besides, I had a good reason to use specifically those spells." "Care to explain?" asked James. "Now that I understand a bit better the detection methods the auras use, I decided to leave a clue that could lead to the investigation of some rival dark wizard. After all, as you said, the unforgivable are some of their favorite spells, the ones used by his followers. You wanted to guide the investigation to other members of his inner circle, in hopes the auras would find some incriminatory evidence that we could use against them." James could guess. Harry nodded. "Is not a bad plan, although a cold-blooded one, using the unforgivable curses for such misdirection." James didn't feel that Harry's actions were justified. "Did it work?" thought. James shook his head. "I'm not in charge of that investigation, so I don't have all the details. But for the things I have heard, no important moves are being made against any pure-blood lord. You have to understand that all of those lords hold a great deal of power in the ministry. We can't even open an investigation without some seriously damning evidence on them." James looked at the pensive. "Obviously we cannot use your memories. The only one who would end up in Azkaban would be you. Not that putting them in that prison will do much. Voldemort can control the Dementors. It's best to eliminate them," said Harry. "Harry," James said with a warning tone. "For what Malfoy has revealed, we are not fighting the real Dark Lord anymore, but a pretender with a lot of political power." "True," admitted Harry. "The one in charge now is that Lord Parkinson. I don't really know much about that man. I have only met his daughter a few times. I do know him a bit. I still attend some meetings of the Wizard Gemot, when there is some ridiculous law they are trying to implement, and Lord Parkinson is always there. That man doesn't miss a single meeting. He is a very serious and quiet person. His political views are even more extreme than the majority of the conservatives. He had voted for some very controversial laws, but regardless, he seems to be well respected among his peers. Now I know why. You need to be careful around him. He is the one who wants you dead the most, and the one who ordered those Death Eaters to attack me and Mom in that alley." "Yes, that was—" Wait a moment. James seemed to have realized something. "That was you, wasn't it?" He pointed at Harry. "Yes, I was there too. What are you getting at?" Harry tilted his head. "Not that. You were the one who killed those men. There was no mysterious man with a black robe who showed up just in time to save you and your mother. You know, when you say it like that out loud, it does sound hard to believe. And of course it was me. I thought you had already reached that conclusion ages ago. I spent 2 months looking all over the country for that mysterious hooded man. James lamented. Sorry about that. James sighed in defeat. What a waste of time. Can we go back to the topic at hand? Asked Harry. James placed his hands on the table. Fine, for the moment you need to stop playing vigilante. No more going around kidnapping, torturing, and killing. I can't believe I have to ask for his. Me neither. Am I supposed to do nothing at all? Harry huffed. We are dealing with a different enemy than the one you know. This is a battle of politics and corruption. I hate politics, said Harry. I don't love them either. I'm going to need some time to process this information. I also need to investigate a few things at the ministry, said James. According to Malafy, at least half of the Aura department is corrupt and already in their pockets. Harry decided to remind him. I know who can I trust in there. You don't need to worry about me. That's my job. Fine. Just be careful. James looked happy to see his son's concern for him. It's best if you take that memory out of the pensive. What are you going to tell Mum? Harry asked while retrieving the memory with his wand and reabsorbing it into himself. Almost everything. I may skip the kidnapping and torture thought, but she will want to know the rest. Before you were born, she was fighting at my side against Voldemort and his followers. I know she is amazing. He just didn't want her to be in danger, that was all. She is. You should go to bed now. We can talk more on the weekend when I come back, said James. You can leave Dobby here. I'll have Mipsy help him settle. Harry turned to look at the elf, who had been waiting patiently at one side. You heard him, Dobby. Be nice with my family. It will also be your family from now on. Of course, Master Harry. Dobby will be the bestest elf. When Harry was about to open the door to leave, his father called him again. Oh, and Harry... Yes? He turned around. You are grounded. Harry spent the rest of the week getting used to his life at home. He would spend most of his free time either with Holly and his mother or reading something from the library. The Potter library was massive, and some of the books found on the upper shelves were fairly old, dating back over 5 centuries. However, he had yet to find any book containing a piece of useful magic, like some ritual, chant or conjuration he didn't know about. The ones displayed were for the most part fantasy tales, diaries and historical books, as well as a big section dedicated to cheesy romance novels, that Harry had the feeling were put there by his mother. The spell books he found only contained common magic, like cleaning charms, cosmetic ones, or magic that you would usually learn at Hogwarts. Harry was convinced that an old family like his must have a lot more interesting tomes than the ones found at the library, but maybe those were placed in a more secure location. It was something he would have to ask his father when he returned. This is starting to get boring though. He wanted to do some magic training but couldn't do it inside the house. Not with his 2 little sisters there. Wait, what about that room? He just recalled it. The safe room underneath the manor. From what his father said back then, that place has some powerful protections that would make it an ideal place to practice his spells. This was going to be something else to ask him tonight when he came back from his working trip. Harry glanced at the grandfather clock, located in a corner of the library. He should be here in a few hours. Mom said he promised to be here for dinner time. Pop. 2 elves appeared in the library. Both of them were carrying a tray with tea and some food. Master Potter, I have brought you some red tea, and a slice of treacle tart, Mipsy said with a polite smile. And Dobby got Master Harry some of that too. And chocolate, Dobby's favorite. The little elf berried up and ran to his side before presenting the tray to him. Seeing this, Mipsy increased her pace and did the same. Master Harry likes red tea the best, and treacle tart is his favorite. But Dobby got here first. Does Master Harry not like what Dobby brought for him? The elf had fetched him some green tea and chocolate treats. The 2 elves haven't been getting along as well as one would expect. Dobby wanted to make himself useful to the family, while Mipsy, who had served the Potter for her whole life, was very territorial and refused to give Dobby an easy time. Okay, that's enough of this. You too, Harry said with a stern tone. Master Harry? The 2 elves looked at him with a hint of fear. There weren't many things more terrifying to a house elf than feeling they have failed their master and upset them. This rivalry has to stop. This is not a competition. Mipsy, you have been a house for a long time and you have done a wonderful job. No one will ever take your position away from you. You will be part of this family for as long as you want. Dobby just wants the same, to be part of the family and feel useful and wanted. Can you help him with that, instead of trying to compete with each other? Yes, Master Harry. Of course, I'm very sorry for my behavior, Mipsy said with her head hanging low. And Dobby is sorry for not knowing what Master Harry liked the most. That's fine, I don't hate green tea. And I like chocolate as well. So thank you, Dobby. Do we take back one of the trays, Master Harry? Asked Mipsy. No, just set them up on the table. I'll do what I can with them. The elves left the food on the table located in the brightest corner of the library and left. Oh, you are here. The newcomer spoke with disappointment. Speaking of not getting along, Harry thought of his second sister. She has been mostly ignoring his existence since their mother scolded her on the night of his return. I don't have many places to be. I am grounded after all. Not that he had much of a reason to leave the house at the moment. You are grounded too. Never mind that. I'll just grab a book and leave. Lyra was about to walk away when Harry called for her. I have some extra tea and sweets if you want to accompany me, he offered. You want me to have tea with you? Do you have any idea of how weird that sounds to me? Her voice was getting progressively louder. I am aware it may seem odd considering how strained our relationship was. Strained? You hated me to death. And to be fair, I felt the same way. You never gave me any reason to feel otherwise. Fair enough. I don't remember most of the things that happened back then, but I can say that I'm extremely sorry for it. You didn't deserve any of that. Who are you? Lyra screamed. My brother would never say something like that. He would never apologize for the shitty things he did and would never ever invite me to have tea with him. Less he was planning on poisoning the cups. Harry waited patiently and allowed her to vent her frustrations. She seemed to have been holding them inside for a while. At first I thought you were making up the whole I don't remember anything to not get in trouble with Mom and Dad for what you did. But the Harry I know would not have lasted a day without going back this usual hateful self. Much less an entire year, she continued. But now, I don't know how to talk with you anymore. My brother was a jerk, but he was a jerk I was familiar with. You are like a completely different person and I feel like you have become a stranger to me. Well, that has an easy solution. Harry pointed to one of the chairs. Come sit with me, have some tea and we can have a proper conversation. Can I really? Said Lyra with hesitation. Please. Harry offered her a seat again, and she took it. Lyra looked down at the piece of treacle tart. Mipsy had spent the entire week making those. You really like them, huh? Yes, but I'm going to have to ask her to slow down, lest I will grow tired of it, or become very fat, Harry exclaimed. Lyra chuckled. Yeah, Mipsy can be very enthusiastic sometimes. By the way, that elf that you brought is super weird. Really? How so? Harry smiled and let his sister talk. The next hour flew by as he talked with his sister, who he finally had a chance to know. Do we have a secret library by any chance? Harry asked directly during their next private conversation. Where does this come from? Of course we don't have a secret library. Lily Potter interjected. If we had something like that, your father would never have kept something like that from me. Right, James? His mother had insisted on participating in their meetings from now on since she wanted to be more involved in any decision they made. Harry had told them more or less his whole story and everything he went through during the war. Only skipped a few details he wanted to keep for himself, like the fact that he had been married to Ginny. His family was very familiar with the Weasleys already, and he didn't want things to become weird between them. Lily looked at her son. She knew that he was not going to give up on fighting against Voldemort, so she wanted to be of help the best she could. Harry looked unconvinced by this. Really? Such an old wizard family doesn't have any obscure tomes stored somewhere. Lily noticed James's eyes flinch for just a moment. James? Is there something you want to say? You are not hiding books from me, right? She looked deeply offended now. Is not like that, Lily. I swear. How could you, James Potter? Let me explain, please. James begged his wife. She leaned back on the chair and crossed her arms. Fine, you better have a good explanation for this. I didn't do this. It's just something I heard from my father, during my grandfather's era. The Dronetry had started the process of banning several branches of magic that had been previously legal. Not only did the practice become forbidden but also the possession and distribution of books or scrolls containing those types of magic. And our family had books of such forbidden branches of magic, Harry stated. Everyone did at the time, said James. What kind of books are we talking about? What branches of magic? Asked Lily with interest. I haven't seen them myself and didn't ask either, so I can't say. Never had the interest to risk getting arrested. To be honest, I got into enough trouble during my school days, said James. So were they hidden inside the house? Harry wanted to know. Didn't you hear what I just said? They are illegal. You could end up in Azkaban just by reading one of them. I am of the belief that no knowledge should be forbidden, just certain practices, said Harry. That's right. No one should stop us from learning. Lily agreed with her son. When the two pairs of bright green eyes landed on him, James Potter knew the fight was already lost. Very well, the books are stored in a secret compartment inside the family vault at Gringotts. Fantastic. When can go take a look? Harry requested. James looked troubled. This weekend is going to be impossible. I have too much paperwork to finish. Oh, but next week we have the girls coming home, said Lily. Right? You will have to wait until the weekends after that. 2 weeks from now we can go visit the vaults. James didn't seem very excited about the prospect. Sorry, but who's coming next week? Asked Harry. The only visit he was aware of was the one from Remus, who was going to take a vacation next month and visit during Harry's birthday. I was planning on telling you tomorrow. I just finished talking the details with their mothers this same afternoon. Your sister's friends are going to spend the next weekend at home with us. Lyra's friends? Wait, but that means that... Yes, one is Astoria Greengrass. You already know her oldest sister Daphne. The other one is Ginny Weasley. You may have met her brother Ron. He is in your year. Well, you did already. James was about to say something. James. But Lily cut whatever her husband was going to say. Is that so? Harry wasn't paying attention. It seems like I will have a chance to meet this world's version of Ginny a bit earlier than expected. Harry, is everything okay? Asked Lily. Yes, everything is fine, Mum. I was just thinking about some things. Right before I forget, I have another request for you, Dad. Another request? He asked with a hint of dread. What was it going to be now? As long as there's nothing too illegal, I'll be happy to help. I need a safe room to practice magic during the summers. A safe room? Asked James. You want to practice magic during the summer? Said Lily. Yes, but I already have a place in mind. Remember that underground safe room where we arrived by flu? You want to use that basement? James considered the request. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to stop Harry from doing magic during the summer, so giving him a safe place where no one else could get hurt was not a bad idea. I suppose is safe. The walls have been heavily reinforced against destruction. What about Hogwarts rules? You know he is not allowed to perform magic during the summers. Even if we let him, the trace of his wand will alert the ministry, said Lily. James looked at his son for an answer. I have a spare wand without a trace, said Harry. What? Lily looked shocked. Why am I not surprised? James shrugged. Can I see that wand? Harry lifted his left arm and a wand appeared from the holster. You got a holster too? James examined the wand. I assume you didn't get this from Ollivander. He would never sell an untraced wand, or even a spare wand at that. No, I bought that from Borgin and Burke's. You went to Nocturne Alley, Lily exclaimed. If they are frightened about something like this, it may be better not to tell them about the stuff I crafted. Harry considered. By the looks that his mother was giving him, he may be about to be grounded again. What are you reading? Lyra sat down on the couch next to him. Harry lifted his gaze from the old tome to look at his sister before answering. It is a diary written by Tobias Potter, back in 1710. He worked at the Ministry of Magic during its early years. That sounds interesting, she said, but her expression indicated otherwise. I do think it's interesting to know how people lived back during the beginning of the modern wizard society. And besides, it is by learning from the past that we can avoid repeating the same mistakes. You sometimes talk like an old man, Lyra pointed out. I do get that a lot. Wait, you said that this something Potter, Tobias Potter, Harry corrected. Yes, that one. That guy was working at the ministry during its early days in the 1700s. But shouldn't the ministry be a lot older than that? The ministry was founded in 1707, just 3 years before this was written, and 300 years can be considered very old already, Harry explained. Yes. But isn't Hogwarts like 1,000 years old? So there were wizards and witches around back then. Who was in charge of the country? Lyra asked. A council of wizards used to rule over magical Britain back then. They were the lords and ladies from the most powerful and ancient families of the time. That sounds like the same we have now, with the wizard Gamot, right? Wizengamot, has Dad been teaching you about this sort of thing already? This didn't seem like a topic she would choose to learn on her own. Harry knew his sister was smart and liked to read. But she was not Hermione. She would not take on 1,000 pages ancient tome about the rules and regulations of a chamber of commerce from the 1800s. Just for some light reading during the weekend. Lyra shrugged. He gave me a few lessons about the workings of the ministry a while ago. He said it was especially important to us since our family is also a member of this Wizengamot thing. It is, and to answer your question, the current government shares some similarities with the old Wizard Council, but there are at least 2 very important differences. He raised one finger. The first one is the amount of members and the requisites to join the current government. The old council was composed of only 11 seats, who held absolute power over the rules and laws. The Wizengamot has 50 members. Basically every wizard family who was around during the forming of the ministry got a seat in it. This meant a greater variety of opinions and beliefs were now present. Also, the most ancient families were now wielding the same amount of power and authority that much newer ones. I bet those old fogies didn't like that one bit. Lyra grinned. The Potters were part of these old fogies. Harry glanced at the time on his lap. This was written by the youngest brother of Arthur Potter, former member of the Wizard Council, and for what it says about him, the old Lord Potter was very supportive of the change, and saw it as the beginning of a new golden age for all magical folk. He pondered for a moment. Of course, not everyone was that supportive of these changes. And the second difference? Lyra questioned. That would be the creation of the ICW. Oh, I know that one, Lyra said with excitement. That is the International Confederation of Wizards. Right, among other things, the ICW dictated some baseline rights and laws for all the magical countries to follow, further limiting the influence of these ancient families. Of course, this did not stop the most conservative faction of the Wizengamot from trying to pass laws that would go against some of those baselines set by the ICW. Harry wasn't sure what they were trying to accomplish with this, as they would never allow these to hold. But that was something only the old families knew. Wow! You know a lot about old politics. Lyra looked impressed. Actually, is the contrary. It is because I don't know a lot about it that I need to read all of these tiresome books. It looks like my new brother is a bookworm. Lyra chuckled. She had taken to referring to him as her new brother in an attempt to drive a clear distinction between the old Harry and the current one. He could only wait until she gets used to him for long enough that she can start calling him just Harry or brother. I don't understand how you got those grades if you're so smart. You need to try harder next year. I know you can do better, she tried to encourage him. He could tell that she was sincere this time, so he offered her a smile and a thank you. His father had already scolded him for his grades, not because they were bad but because they were too unusual. After all, no one is average at everything. Harry could only say that he was trying his best. After all, he was playing outside his comfort zone now. He never had the need to hold back before. Everyone who knew him already knew what he was capable of. But now he has to pretend that he is just one more student. They heard the sound of someone mumbling from the nearby couch where Holly was sleeping. She was the original reason for Harry's visit to the library this afternoon. She had urged that he read her a story, only to fall asleep around 10 minutes into his reading. She won't wake up that easily, commented Lyra. She looks peaceful. Harry looked at his little sister with a grin. Yeah, she does now. The moment she opens her eyes is going to start demanding stuff. Ah, I almost forgot. Lyra moved her green eyes away from Holly and looked at her brother. Yes, what is it? My friends, Ginny and Astoria are coming to stay at the manor for the weekend. I know Mom told me about it, said Harry. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Astoria is a bit weird and almost never talks. Ginny is usually very energetic and happy-going, but she may act a bit strange around you. Harry looked surprised at hearing this. How so? Have we met before? So don't remember any of that either. Huh? Then I guess it's best if I just tell you. She came here almost 2 years ago and you did meet her, well, sort of. It didn't end well for her. Let me tell you what happened. Welcome. Lily greeted the duo of newcomers. Out of the fireplace came a young woman wearing a beautiful green dress, followed by a little girl. Greetings, Lady Potter. The woman made an elegant short reverence. How many times do I have to tell you to call me Lily? The redhead frowned slightly before moving her eyes to the little girl. Hello, Astoria. We are going to have so much fun this weekend. The little girl looked up at Lily with an expression completely devoid of emotion and nodded. Harry and his 2 sisters were left waiting on one side, with the 2 house elves waiting behind them. It was a show of respect among old families to have the entire house present to greet important guests. Since his father was still working at the ministry, this was the entire Potter family. Harry was sure that Molly Weasley was not going to care for etiquette, but Lady Greengrass certainly would. His eyes were drawn to the young woman, who didn't look a day older than 25. He could see where Daphne got her looks from. Lady Greengrass was a stunningly beautiful woman. Long blonde hair, clear blue eyes that shone like sapphires, and the elegant dress she was wearing showed just enough to tell that she had a perfect figure. Lord Greengrass is one lucky bastard, he could not help but to think. He hurried up to remove his eyes from Daphne's mother before anyone noticed it and looked at the daughter. Astoria. The girl was small, even for her age. But her most striking feature was her long black hair. It wasn't just black, but the deepest shade of charcoal black he had ever seen. It looked almost unnatural. He could also feel something strange in the girl's magic. His senses were not sharp enough to pinpoint exactly what it was, but he recalled hearing some strange rumors about the Greengrass family having a generational curse that was passed from parents to children. Hello. His train of thought came to a halt when he saw his little sister move from her spot at his side and run towards the guests in a very unladylike manner. I guess her patience ran out. Harry knew she was not going to hold in place for too long. Both Astoria and her mother turned their heads at the same time and saw the little girl dashing at them. Lily made a quick maneuver and intercepted her daughter before she could do something very impolite, and held her in her arms. Holly, I told you to wait with your siblings until I called for you. But Mom, she pouted. I'm sorry about this. I told them Lady Greengrass raised her hand to interrupt. It's fine, lad. No, Lily. I am not as strict as my husband when it comes to following old traditions. She looked at Holly and smiled. Greetings, little miss. Oi, Holly. I'm 5 years old already. What's your name? Holly held her palm out to indicate she was that many. I am Celine Greengrass, and this is my youngest daughter, Astoria. Astoria looked at Holly and nodded. How many years do you have? Holly asked innocently at Lady Greengrass. Lily's eyes opened widely and was about to scold her daughter when Celine spoke while maintaining a polite smile. I forgot, Celine said without skipping a beat. Holly looked aghast at hearing this. You forgot how? She could not comprehend how could someone forget about something so important. She would be banged the days until her next birthday, if she knew how. My dear, you will one day learn that when a witch reaches a certain age, they will stop counting the years, and eventually they will forget about it, Celine said with a mischievous smile. Holly still looked confused, but Mom did not forget. She told me she is 30. Lily hurried to cover her mouth. That's enough of you, little rascal. Let's introduce your siblings. Well, you already know my other daughter quite well. Yes, I do. Greetings, Lyra. It's nice to see you again, said Celine. Lyra greeted Lady Greengrass with an elegant curtsy she had been practicing since last year. Hello, Lyra. Astoria finally spoke her 2 first words. Lyra smiled and got closer to Astoria. Hi Tori, this is going to be such a fun weekend. This was the first time she had friends staying over at her house, so Lyra was extremely excited about the experience. Looking forward, Astoria spoke once more. Every sound she produced had the same flat intonation, and her facial expression never changed. She is very talkative today. Normally she would not say more than 2 words a day. That goes to show how happy she is, explained Celine. Her blue eyes then moved until they landed on Harry. And this must be Harry Potter. My eldest daughter has mentioned you several times during the last year. She rarely talks about other people. You must have made a powerful impression on her. Yes, we got along, I think. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lady Greengrass. And you too, Astoria. Harry had no idea what Daphne told her parents about, but it made him somewhat uneasy. The black-haired girl stared directly at him for several seconds. And just when it was starting to become uncomfortable, she nodded and looked away. Celine got closer to Lily and spoke softly. If anything happens, you know how to contact us, right? Yes. Don't worry, Celine. Everything is going to be great and I'll take care of her like she was one of my own. Celine nodded. I know you will, that's why I agreed to let her stay. Well then, I must be going now. Don't you want to stay a bit longer? Molly should be about to arrive, suggested Lily. Celine flinched. I have some important matters to take care of. I'm sure she will understand. After saying goodbye to her daughter, she moved smoothly towards the fireplace and disappeared in a burst of green fire. Lily grinned. She doesn't get along very well with Molly. I think their personalities are a bit too different. A bit? Lyra raised an eyebrow. Not even a minute after the departure of Lady Greengrass, the fireplace came alive again. They are here already, said Lily. A big woman with short red hair came out of the fireplace. When is James going to change that name? Marauder's Nest makes it sound like I'm visiting his bachelor dwelling. Harry was filled with nostalgia when he saw the woman he once considered a mother figure. She was just like he remembered her. Lily chuckled at Molly's comment. I have already told him that way too many times. He refuses to change it because Remus finds it amusing. Another burst of flames and a very young girl with long vibrant red hair appeared into the room. Molly went to give Lily a hug. It's good to see you again, Lily. Hey, what about me? Holly, who was still in her mother's arms, complained for being ignored. Of course you too, Holly. And you know what? There is a delicious chocolate cake waiting for you if you come to visit me this summer. Yes. We are going, Holly told her mother in the most commanding voice she could muster. Oh Molly, you don't have to bake cakes every time we visit you. Lily knew that the Weasleys didn't have a house elf and most of the chores fell on Molly's shoulders. Please, is not bother at all. I have already baked 5 of them since my boys came back from school, and it's only been 2 weeks. Hello Miss Weasley. Hello Ginny. Lyra went to greet them. Molly gave her an affectionate hug. Hello dear. Hi Lyra. Ginny grinned happily at seeing her friend again. Molly released his sister and looked at Astoria, who had yet to make a noise since her mother left. You must be Astoria. Molly had only met the eldest daughter so far because Astoria rarely leaves the house. The raven-haired girl nodded. Well, I am Molly Weasley. Nice to meet you, Astoria. Harry noticed something unusual. Molly never tried to hug Astoria. Anyone who knew the Weasley matriarch could tell how strange that was. He could only conclude that, whatever was wrong with Astoria, Molly knew about it, and was being respectful. You have yet to properly meet my son Harry, Lily pointed at him. Ah yes, Harry, I have been waiting to meet you. You never came to visit with your mother and sister. Molly smiled at him. He noticed Ginny looking at him for a moment before moving her face away. Harry wanted to sigh in defeat. The person he wanted to meet again the most was very unlikely to talk to him now. His sister told him what happened back then. It was almost 2 years ago. Lyra and Ginny had only been friends for a few months when she was invited to the Potter Manor. Lily had recently bought the newest Boy Who Lived books to read to Holly, who was 3 years old at the time. So when Lyra discovered that Ginny was a huge fan of those books, she urged the girl to visit the library and read the newest ones. Ginny became very enthusiastic at hearing this, and agreed. They went inside and failed to notice the boy reading quietly in one of the sofas. Lyra started to show her all the books they had, and Ginny was delighted looking at everything. She started to speak about the boy who lived books she had read at home, and then asked Lyra if she thought that Neville Longbottom would be that incredible in real life. According to Laura's recount of the events, it was at this moment that she heard someone approach. When she turned around and saw it was her brother, she became immediately worried. Harry looked even more angry than usual at this point. He immediately started to look at Ginny, who didn't understand what was going on, as she hadn't even been introduced to him yet, and had only briefly heard that she had a brother. Harry went on a rant about how stupid Ginny was to believe everything she read in those books. When Lyra stood up to him and was about to yell at him to leave them alone, Harry pushed her very hard and she fell backward. As Lyra fell, she ended up pushing Ginny, who was trying to stand up. Ginny tripped and hit her head against the corner of one of the shelves and got a cut on the side of her face right next to her right eye. Harry went away while screaming something at them, and Lyra hurried to call their mother, who took them both to Saints Mungo in a hustle. In the end, neither of them told anyone what truly happened. They only told Lily that Ginny fell down while running through the library, but Lyra was relatively sure that at least their mother knew the truth. Harry was also convinced that Ginny never told her family what happened at all. Had the Weasley twins known that he had hurt their beloved sister, he would have been mercilessly pranked for the entire year at the very least. And Ron would never talk to him, even if he pretends that he doesn't care about Ginny. Harry knew very well how protective he could get. He doesn't understand why neither of them told the truth. Maybe there was a small party of Lyra that wanted to protect her brother from trouble, no matter how much he deserved it. But for Ginny, he had no idea. Maybe she didn't want to risk her friendship with Lyra. Getting his thoughts back in order, Harry looked at Molly and Ginny. "Greetings, Miss Weasley and Ginny. Nice to meet you." "How polite. He looks just like his father," commented Molly. "Yes, but he has my eyes," added Lily. "My son Ron told me you also got sorted into Gryffindor. Did you enjoy your first year?" Molly asked. "Well, I fought some acromantulas and killed 2 men, one of them being my teacher, so it was a very average Hogwarts year for me, I suppose." "It was all right," Harry offered. Molly chuckled. "The first year can be stressful. It will get more fun from here on." "Let's hope not too fun." "Yes, I'm sure it will. He wouldn't mind a quiet year for once though." "Ginny, go ahead and say hello to Harry. At least," urged Molly.
"H.A."
she said very awkwardly before looking away. "Don't mind her, she can be very shy with boys." Molly apologizes to him before addressing his mother again. "I'm very sorry, Lily, but I can't stay for long. If I leave those beasts that I have for sons alone at home for too long, who knows what will happen when I come back," Molly said with a hint of dread. A golem made of stone rushed at him. In its hands was a dangerously looking iron sword. Harry dodged the sharp blade by moving to one side as this one came down in a vertical motion. The golem promptly recovered his posture and attacked again, this time with a horizontal slash aimed at his upper torso. With a fluid motion, Harry moved behind the golem, and as soon as he did, this one used its free hand to launch a backhanded punch at his face, forcing him to jump backward and put some distance between them. Harry made sure his wand was properly gripped. It would be very troublesome to stop the golem if it fell from his grasp. The room he was currently in was fairly small for training purposes, being only 5 square meters 16 foot. This tight space just made facing an opponent armed with a blade a much more troublesome task. Beads of sweat fell across his face. "How long it's been already?" He was losing track of time as his exhaustion increased. The golem was not going to give him time to rest. As the creature itself would never get tired of moving around, it could continue to fight until the magic powering its body was completely exhausted. The construct turned around and ran at him with a level of swiftness that one would think impossible for a being made of stone. It lunged forward as its body turned sideways, piercing the air with its long word, which was approaching at a tremendous speed towards his head. The blade passed right next to his face as he moved. "Shit, that was dangerous," he cursed. Harry then jumped back, trying to create some breathing room between him and the golem. But as soon as he did so, his back ended up hitting the wall. He had no more room to move. The golem did not hesitate to go for the killing move. The magical construct did not have the capability to think or make decisions. It merely follows the simple command that its creator gave it during the moment of its conception, and the command was, Kill the person in front of you. The golem will not stop for anything until its purpose has been carried out, unless its creator intervenes. Finite incantatem. As the words left Harry's lips, the conjured sword in the golem's hand disappeared into nothingness, and the golem itself crumbled down until it was no more than a pile of rubble. Reparo. The rubble flew against a wall that had a hole in it and transformed until the damage was completely fixed, leaving a flawless wall afterward. Harry collapsed on the floor and cleared the sweat from his forehead before it reached his eyes. He wasn't magically exhausted this time around, just physically. He had challenged himself to last for as long as he could against the construct without fighting back. But the main purpose of this training exercise was to evaluate the combat capabilities of the golems he could create at this moment. Construct creation was considered a side branch of transfiguration, not a very popular one due to its limitations, but a very useful piece of magic if you knew what you were doing. If he was in a disadvantageous situation where he had to face multiple competent enemies, the creation of several golems could even up the situation. These golems have some clear limitations. They could only be made from available material in your surroundings, and this meant that most of the time they would be made of dirt or rock. They only lasted for a short period of time. One has to give them a fraction of their magic during their creation. After that, the golem would function using this magic as fuel and will continue to do so until the magic runs out. Afterward it will crumble and transform back into whatever material was used to form it. The last and most important limitation was the knowledge. The golem was unable to do something that its creator was not knowledgeable about. For example, if the caster doesn't know the first thing about sword fighting, the golem will be as clueless as his creator when given a sword to fight with. This was also the reason why they were usually created in a very humanoid shape, instead of forming them like animals or giving them extra limbs. Overall, Harry was very satisfied with the test. His own sword skills could only be called average, especially compared to the one who taught him, but combined with the golem's might and speed, it had proven to be rather difficult to deal with. This should be good enough for today. He looked down at himself. His clothes were completely soaked in sweat. I need a nice bath, Timpus. Okay, there is plenty of time before lunch. He was not looking forward to that. After the girls arrived, Harry had basically scoped out of there and went to get some training, but he could not ignore them forever. He just couldn't stand the look of fear that Ginny was giving him. How do I even begin to fix that? Lyra had probably told her already about this amnesia and change of personality, otherwise he could not imagine Ginny ever agreeing to come back here. But it seems that she is not completely convinced about his change. Should I apologize? He wondered. Does he need to once again request forgiveness for something he didn't do? He pondered while making his way to the second-floor bathroom. There were two big bathrooms on this floor. One was meant for him and Lyra, while the other was for their parents. However, after one big fight when they were younger, Lyra had her room moved away from him and closer to their parents, leaving the entire area of the second floor to him, including the bathroom. He didn't hate that part, as this meant that he never had to worry about having someone else use his bathroom and could enter whenever he wanted. Master Harry. He heard a pop and the panicked voice of an elf as he opened the door. He then heard some gasps, and when he looked up, Harry found himself staring at three naked girls about to enter the big bathtub. Ginny hurried to cover herself with a towel. Lyra yelled at him while doing her best to cover her most important parts using her hands. Astoria didn't seem to care at all about his presence or make any attempt to cover herself. Harry closed the door and looked to his right, where Mipsy was looking at him with a troubled expression. Mistress Lyra and her friends wanted to take a bath, but the other bathroom was being cleaned, so I suggested they use this one. I tried to warn Master Harry but could not find you anywhere. Well, yes, I was in the training room that is heavily warded against intrusions. He realized. Another pop could be heard. I found Master Harry, shouted Dobby. Master Harry must not enter that bathroom. The misses are using it. Harry sighed. Thanks, Dobby. Pervert. Lyra muttered again while giving him a nasty look. Harry put his fork down. He has yet to take a single bite of the roasted chicken that Mipsy has prepared for lunch. I already told you it was an accident. Pervert, Astoria said, although she didn't seem to care a bit, and was most likely repeating what Lyra was doing. Ginny had yet to say a single word. Her face was almost as red as her hair, and she refused to look up from her plate. "Mummy, what a pervert," Holly asked innocently. "Well, that's a thing that you call the Lyra. Stop calling your brother that." Lily glanced at her daughter with a stern expression. "But Mum, he saw us," Lyra huffed. "Calm down already, Lyra. I'm sure your brother didn't get to see much, and besides, you girls can relax. You have little to show yet. Give it a few more years." Lily then noticed the curious look that Holly was giving her, and she knew the girl was about to start asking questions she did not want to answer, for a few more years at least. "Don't ask me anything and you can have extra dessert." "Yes," Holly celebrated with a happy face and went back to her food. "Mum, how can you say that?" Lyra looked down at her small chest. "It is already growing," she mumbled. Astoria looked down and placed her hands on her completely flat chest. Can we talk about something else, please?" begged Ginny. "Fine." Lyra was also tired of this conversation. "I'll let this one go just this one time. Don't do it again," Lyra told Harry while trying to imitate her mother's stern look. "You are most kind, my lady." Harry noticed her lips forming a smile for a short second before she hid it away and returned to her frown. He knew she wasn't truly angry with him, and she understood the whole thing was an accident. But in a way, maybe she missed being angry at him. Who knows? He can't claim to truly understand this sister of his. Yet, Astoria just stared at him as usual before she began eating her food, and Ginny looked more embarrassed about the conversation than angry about what happened. Living in a small house with 6 brothers and 2 bathrooms, this was probably not the first time someone had walked on her while taking a bath. With lunch finally over, Harry went for some much-needed peace and quiet to the library. He read another old tome that gave him a bit of an insight into some of the oldest wizard families. After relaxing for a few hours and drinking some tea, he felt much better, but also needed to stretch his legs for a bit. Harry walked into the inner garden and spotted Astoria sitting by herself on one of the stone benches beneath a big apple tree. As he walked, Harry was able to spot several figures in the air. At first he only saw Laura and Ginny flying on their respective brooms, and wondered why his mother left them to fly alone, but then he saw a third person hovering close by. It was his father. He must have returned while he was in the library. Harry looked back at Astoria. The little girl seemed distracted while reading some small book and failed to notice his approach. He decided to get closer and say something to the girl. "Good evening, Astoria. Can I sit here?" The bench was big enough for 5 people to sit comfortably. She lifted her face from her book to look at him with her violet eyes, and gave him her usual nod. If she was displeased by his presence, she didn't show it in any way. It was impossible to read that girl. He sat down, leaving ample space between them to not make her uncomfortable. "Why aren't you flying with them?" Harry asked. He knew it wasn't for lack of brooms, as his father had an ample collection of them. "Can't," Astoria answered. Those were the first and only words she had said to him so far, other than calling him a pervert. Earlier that day, he preferred to ignore that. "Can't? Do you not know how to fly? Because I'm sure my father will be delighted to teach you. Or perhaps there is another reason." She stared directly into his eyes.
"No magic."
She said that, and went back to her book. "No magic? That's impossible." He was no censor, but he could clearly feel magic coming from her. She was no squib, of that he was 100% sure. Could it be that some type of curses would eat away at the user's magic? Maybe her reserves are so small that her own body prevents her from using any of them, as a form of defense mechanism to avoid magical exhaustion. This could mean that she doesn't have enough magic to lift the magical broom. But if she can't even do that, then attending Hogwarts is probably out of the question. "Is because of your curse, then?" For the first time he got a reaction from her. Astoria quickly looked away from her book and stared at him. He interpreted that as a surprise. "You know about it, Daphne. Your sister didn't tell me anything." "Don't be mad at her," he said. An intense stare. "She is waiting for an explanation," he noticed. Harry felt a hint of satisfaction at finally being able to understand her a little bit at least. "There are rumors about your family having a generational curse. After meeting you, let's just say I made an educated guess. And you just confirmed that I was right." She kept staring at him. "Does Lyra know?" She shook her head. Lyra was probably told that Astoria has some sort of illness that makes her like this. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this without your consent. She appeared to think for a moment before nodding at him and going back to her reading. He kept Astoria company until his father and the two girls came down. Oh, there you are, Harry. Wanna fly a bit with your old man? James asked him with a grin. Maybe tomorrow is getting dark already, and I'm sure Mum would get mad if we were late for dinner, Harry stated. That's right, you two, come down already, James hollered. Tori, did you see us? Lyra said as she landed. Astoria nodded at her. That was so fun. Ginny seemed to be in a much better mood now. Mom never lets me use the brooms at home. Then you better not tell Molly that I let you fly. That woman can be very scary when she is angry, James reminded the girl. Don't worry, Mr. Potter. I can keep a secret, Ginny assured him. Good girl. And call me James. Let's go inside, we can play a game of exploding snap before dinner, Lyra said with excitement. Yes, let's do that, answered Ginny. Be very careful if you play in the library. That game can be very dangerous. Harry warned the girls. Lyra and Ginny gave him a confused look while James seemed to have realized something. Wait a minute. It was almost midnight when Harry opened his eyes. He gazed at his surroundings, feeling disoriented for a moment until he recognized being in one of the comfy sofas of the library. Right. I came here after dinner for some light reading. He looked down at the book that remained on his lap. Laws and Regulations. English Ministry of Magic. 7. Maybe I should find a hobby, he considered. His body became immediately alert when he heard the sound of steps approaching, and had to contain himself from jumping out of the sofa with his wand at the ready. Relax. You are at home, he reminded himself. He then saw Ginny entering the library while carrying a small magical lamp. She didn't notice his presence and went directly to the section where the children's stories were placed. He could imagine what she was looking for. On the shelf to your left. Ginny let out a squeal at the sudden surprise and turned around. Harry. Please, lower your voice, everyone is sleeping, he whispered. Sorry. She got nervous all of a sudden, probably was not prepared to encounter anyone here at this hour, much less him. It's okay, you haven't done anything wrong. Trouble sleeping. He changed the subject. Ginny nodded. I thought reading something would help me. You could have asked one of the house elves to bring you a book. She hasn't thought about that, because her house has no elves, so Ginny was used to doing everything by herself. The boy who lived books are over here. Harry walked to one of the shelves. Holly has amassed quite the collection. Ginny went to her shelf and her expression became brighter when she saw all the books. So many. I haven't read many of these yet. Oh. Her smile fell and she glanced at Harry for a moment. You probably think I'm stupid for still reading these. No, I don't think you are stupid. Look, I'm sorry about what happened that day. Lyra told me that you don't remember anything from before your accident. She said that you changed, Ginny whispered. No, I don't remember any of it, but I'm still sorry to have caused such a terrible first impression of me and for hurting you. Is okay, even my brother Ron says that I'm stupid for still liking those books, or believing that any of it is true. You are not stupid, Ginny. You are a bright witch, but still need to discover what you are good at. Once you do, you can truly shine, and show everyone how amazing you can be. Then for the first, Ginny gave him a sincere smile. Thanks. But how can you know that? We just met, you don't know me. I can tell I have a good eye for people. Trust me. She grinned before looking back at the shelf of books. If I may, I can recommend you one. Neville Longbottom and the Mystical Cave. I found that one entertaining at least, said Harry. You read them too? Ginny became shocked. Of course I read one of them every night to Holly. Ah, right. For a moment she thought to had found another fan. My brother Bill used to read me books too, she said with a hint of nostalgia. Say, Harry, she whispered hesitantly. Can I ask you something? Yes? How is he in real life? You know Neville Longbottom? Ginny asked. Harry could see a light blush decorating her cheeks. I should have expected that question, he thought. Shouldn't you ask your brother Ron? He is one of his closest friends. I'm sure he has many stories to tell about him. He won't tell me anything. He always yells at me to leave him alone and don't bother him with questions about his friends. Ginny huffed with furrowed eyebrows. I see, that does sound like Ron. Well, Neville is a nice guy. That's it? Ginny tilted her head. You will meet him soon enough, then you can form your own opinion of him. I guess. She didn't seem satisfied with that. He was well aware of how obsessed she was with the boy who lived at this point. But what was he supposed to do? Manipulate an 11-year-old to like him more instead? Is that even something he wants? As close as they are, this is not his Ginny. This is a different version of her with her own ideas and dreams. No, it's too early to worry about these things. The real Voldemort is still somewhere out there. Until that monster is dead for good, I cannot risk losing someone like that again. Harry, you look troubled with something. Ginny looked at him. Are you feeling sleepy perhaps? No, but going to bed is not a bad idea, he said. Why don't you take a book and I'll accompany you back to Lyra's room. The house is dark and easy to get lost in. Thank you, Harry. Lyra was right. You are very nice now. Lyra, I don't think we should be doing this. Ginny didn't feel that this was right. It was Sunday morning, and the three girls were sneaking around the manor basement. My brother has been doing something in secret all week. He disappears all of a sudden and not even Mipsy knows where he is. Lyra commented. She then felt a tug on her sleeve. It was Astoria looking at her. How? How did I find out then? Lyra guessed what the other girl wanted to ask. I was able to get it from Dobby. Isn't Dobby your family house elf too? How come he knows something and Mipsy doesn't? Wondered Ginny. Dobby is not the family house elf. He is Harry's personal elf. Lyra felt another tug from Astoria. I don't know where he got it from. My parents are very quiet about it. They also told me not mention the elf's name to anyone. It's supposed to be a secret. Lyra glanced at the two girls. So don't say anything, okay? Both Ginny and Astoria nodded. So if Dobby already told you what he's doing, why are you going to spy on him again? Asked Ginny. He didn't tell me what he is doing, just that he goes to some hidden room in the second basement. I don't think he was supposed to tell me that because afterward he started hitting his head against the wall. He what? Ginny sounded horrified. Dobby does that sometimes. If he thinks he's done something wrong, he said he has to punish himself, Lyra explained. That's awful, Ginny exclaimed. Awful, Astoria agreed. Hey, it's not my fault. Harry said that his previous master was very cruel to him and always told him to punish himself, Lyra explained. He must have been a terrible person. Do you know what happened to the previous master? Asked Ginny. No, I think my parents are hiding something important and is about Harry, said Lyra. Mysterious, Astoria muttered. She also felt there was something odd about him. Wow, you are very talkative today, Lyra observed. I still don't think it's right to spy on him, Ginny added. You can consider it a payback for what happened yesterday. That was an accident, and you forgave for that already, remember? Ginny pointed out. I did, Lyra admitted, but it doesn't mean that we can't get a bit of payback. She grinned at Ginny. Don't you want a bit of revenge? He probably got a good look at your butt. He did not. I had a towel. Ginny became flushed red. What about you? You didn't even try to cover, Lyra told Astoria. The other girl shrugged. You should care more about boys seeing you. That's for like your boyfriend or something. Lyra didn't know a lot about those matters, but that's what the books her mother liked so much always talk about. This basement is massive. Do you know where we are going? Ginny changed the subject to something more important at the moment. They have been wandering the place for over 30 minutes already. I have only been here twice. I think Mum had her old school books stored here, and some of her stuff from when she lived with her Muggle family. But I have never ventured this far, Lyra explained. The basement of the Potter Manor was not just one big room, but it was instead separated in many corridors with several bifurcations along the way, making it very confusing to navigate. I'm sure this basement is bigger than my house, Ginny commented. I don't care about the size, but why did they have to make it so maze-like? Lyra complained. At this rate we are just going to get lost, and then we will get in trouble with your parents. Ginny was starting to panic. Calm down, we just need... Lyra felt a hand covering her mouth all of a sudden. It was Astoria, the one who did it. Noise. The other two realized now that they were in complete silence. There was a bit of noise coming from somewhere nearby. Shh! Lyra put a finger on her lips to tell her friends to remain in silence. Mostly to Ginny. She didn't need to ask that to Astoria. They followed the noise until they reached a big painting of some old man, at the end of a short corridor. It has to be here. I can hear noise coming from behind the painting, Lyra whispered. Then, maybe there's some mechanism to open it. Try look. Password? Ginny was interrupted when the painting moved, and the old man inside spoke to them. The three girls were startled and looked at the old man inside the painting. An enchanted portrait. I read about these. Hogwarts has many of them. I didn't know we had any here. Lyra observed the painting with great interest. Who is the old man? Thought. You think is an old ancestor or something? Asked Ginny. Password? The man asked again. Hello. Lyra greeted him with a smile. I'm Lyra Potter. I live here. I just want to go see my brother. I think he is on the other side, so can you let us pass? Password? The old man requested. I don't think he can say anything else, Ginny concluded. Then this is not like the paintings I read about. If we don't give him the password, it will be impossible to get through, said Lyra. Hello, sir, can we get a clue about this password at least? Requested Ginny. Password? The old man replies. Never mind. He can't say anything else. Ginny gave up. Well, I have no idea what the password could be. Should I try something random?
Oh, I know.
The password is treacle tart. That's my brother's favorite. The old man looked at Lyra with a frown. Wrong. Is not that? Let me think. What about, I love reading boring books? Wrong. The tone of the old man grew more stern. This is difficult. I don't know much about my new brother. What about, stop. Austria covered her mouth. Lyra, look. Ginny pointed at the old man in the painting. He looks more angry now, Ginny noticed. I don't think we should be guessing the answer anymore. I have the feeling that something bad could happen. Astoria nodded. You are right, Lyra realized it now. And I don't think the password was set by Harry anyway. This place looks super old. He was probably just given the password by Dad. But what could it be then? Family words. Austria pointed at the painting. The blazon of the Potters was engraved at the top, a blue hippogriff over a silver field, and the old man was wearing the same colors on his tunic, indicating that this man was indeed an old member of the Potter family. The family words, Lyra did her best to recall. She knew her father had mentioned them at least once or twice during their lessons. Then, they came to her. Honor thy blood. Correct. The old man smiled at her and the painting opened up, revealing a set of descending stairs. Wow, it worked. Lyra stared at the stairs in disbelief. The noises they were hearing before got a lot louder after the painting opened. It sounded like rocks and metal being hit. What is my brother doing down there? Lyra wanted to know more than ever. Astoria glanced at her while pointing at the stairs like saying, Do we go? Yes, but let's move slowly, try not to make any noise. Lyra whispered. I don't have a good feeling about this. Ginny didn't like this situation, but still followed behind Astoria. The trio descended the set of stairs with care until they saw a small arch of stone at the end of it. This one led into another room, the one where all the noise was coming from. They all hid behind the entrance and peeked inside. A stone golem passed by them, and the construct was moving quickly while wielding a metal sword. Lyra and Ginny had to cover their mouth in order to avoid screaming. It did not help the situation when they saw a second menacing-looking golem, just a short distance away. Or when they realized that the target of their blades was no other than Harry himself. Lyra stared in complete shock as her brother ducked one attack and moved away from another one. The room was not big enough to allow him much space away from the two golems and their sharp swords. Harry was just wearing some shorts and a simple t-shirt, for easy movement. With only his spare wand as a means of defense. He is doing magic out of school, she whispered, not very sure why her first thought was about her brother breaking Hogwarts rules and being expelled, instead of something like why are two magical creatures trying to kill my brother inside a hidden basement that I didn't even know existed until today. Gladius, spoke Harry. With no more room to dodge, he had no other choice but to start fighting back. The transfiguration he just used had transformed his wand into a short, double-edged sword. He deflected the incoming attack before answering by stabbing his blade through the head of the golem, leaving a big hole in it. The damage started to be repaired almost immediately, but in the meantime the magical construct was unable to move. He took this chance to push it back, and create just enough space to escape from the corner where he had been stuck. As soon as he got past the first golem, the second one jumped into action. A swift vertical slash was about to hit his head and likely split it in two. Protego, a translucent shield appeared above his head, stopping the blade and preventing it from traveling further. Harry took a few steps back and lifted his own blade in the air. This one gained a white glow to it, as magic was being channeled through it. Diffindo. Harry chanted the spell at the same time he completed a perfect vertical slash aimed at the second golem. Even though he was some distance away from it, a white surge of light came out of the sword and impacted the golem, splitting it vertically in half with a clean cut. "Where did your brother learn to fight like that?" Ginny whispered to Lyra. "I have no idea he could fight with a sword or with anything." For Lyra the situation felt too surreal at the moment. Harry observed the golem he just cut. It seemed to be having trouble regenerating, that one. It must be running low on magic by now, he concluded. The other one had already recovered and rushed at him without hesitation. Harry lifted his blade and pointed at the golem. Incarcerus. Ethereal ropes came out of the sword and tied themselves around the golem. Despite being in its current shape, the transfiguration that Harry had used on his wand allows it to retain its core, and one is able to still use it to cast magic. This combination of magic and swordsmanship was something originally created by none other than Godric Gryffindor and later on perfected by one of his best friends and the one who taught him this style, Neville Longbottom. The golem only needed a couple of seconds to break free, but it gave Harry some time to recover his breath. The sword shone again, but it now gained a purple color and a baleful aura. The golem arrived at his side and lunged at him. Harry moved behind it and readied his blade. Divulsa. A purple wave of magic cut this golem in half, this time horizontally, leaving behind a purple substance that started to corrode the golem. After it passed through the stone body of the construct, Harry's magic continued until it hit the wall next to the entrance. He then heard the scream of two girls. "What was that?" Lyra shouted. "Lyra? What are you guys doing here?" Harry exclaimed. He was too focused on his training and didn't notice the three girls entering the room. He hurried to remove the magic from the wall before it consumed it, or any of the girls if they got too close to the corrosive magic. "Harry, behind you!" Lyra was the first one to react. She screamed while pointing. Harry noticed the movement and reacted by moving quickly as a blade came lunging his way. This one still managed to stab his left shoulder. It seemed like the second golem, the one he had cut first, still had a bit of magic left, but it stopped moving right after getting a hit on him, and promptly collapsed. "No," screamed Ginny. Despite having been cut in half and corroded, the other golem still had part of its upper torso and arms, so it continued to move and attack the closest target it detected. During its creation, Harry's orders have been very simple. Just kill whatever is in front of you. He wasn't expecting visits. Finite incanted him. He hurried to dispel the remaining magic on the golem, and this one went back to being pieces of rock. Ugh! He groaned, an upper hand to cover the wound on his shoulder to stop the bleeding. "Harry, you are hurt." Lyra forgot about her million questions when she saw him bleeding and ran to him. "Harry." Lyra passed by the piles of rubble and knelt down next to her brother. "Should we go call Miss Potter?" Ginny had a concerned look on her face, and Astoria just stared at him. He was going to take that as concern. "No, there is no need to call her for this," Harry told them. "But Harry, you are bleeding a lot." Lyra stared at his white shirt. The area around his shoulder was completely red. "She is not wrong about the blood loss. That golem must have hit an artery. It's just a superficial wound, nothing serious, so calm down," he told her before calling for his elf, Dobby. The elf appeared next to him, looked over and became horrified. "Master Harry, sir, is hurt." "Oh no, this is Dobby's fault." "No. Is not your fault, so don't go now to hit your head on the wall or something. I need you to do me a favor. Go to our potions cabinet and bring me a Wiggenweld potion, and a blood replenishing one. Can you do that? The elf noted repeatedly. Then go. The girls stood in silence looking at him for a good 30 seconds until Dobby came back with the potions. Harry took the vials and placed them in front of him while sitting cross-legged and removed his bloody shirt. The girls stared in shock as he took the first potion and poured its yellow liquid over the wound. They flinched when they heard a fizzing sound and smoke came out of Harry's shoulder. The process looked very painful, but Harry didn't complain. He then took the other potion. The contents looked very much like human blood. It was thick and had a dark red color. Harry drank the whole bottle in one go. Afterward, the wound was completely closed and his face had recovered its normal color. Is it healed? Asked Lyra. Yes, I'm fine now. Good. Then, can you tell me what in Merlin's beard was all of this about? Lyra's stern face reminded him of his mother for a moment. He ignored her for now and pointed his wand at his stained shirt. Evanesco. The blood and dirt disappeared from the fabric, leaving it completely pristine. He then did the same with his shoulder, cleaning the bloodstains from his skin, and put his shirt back on. Where did you learn that from? Asked Lara. Repara. With another wave of his spare wand, the golem's remains returned to their original places, repairing the walls in the process. Stop ignoring me, his sister hissed. Fine. Harry cleared the dust from his clothes and glanced at his sister. His expression became grave. But first, I need you to answer something for me. Why did you come here? He did not have to ask how she knew he was here already. His parents would not have told her, and the only other who knew was Dobby. The elf reminded him of good old Hagrid, very loyal but damn awful at keeping secrets. I just wanted to know what you were up to. You have been sneaking around all week. Lara told him. I didn't know she was paying so much attention to what I was doing. That was a mistake on my part. I see. He now had a problem with no easy solution. Even if he were to obliviate her most recent memories, it would not remove the underlying issue. She didn't accidentally come across this room. She had been wanting to find it. This means that even if he erased her most recent memories, she would just keep trying to figure out what he has been doing. Then there are the other two girls. There should be no problem with Ginny, but Astoria is already a victim of a potent curse. He had no idea how she could react to being subject to the charm, as much as he preferred if they had never come here. Protecting his secrets is not worth the risk of hurting these girls. He sighed. In reality, there wasn't much of a choice to begin with. Can you three promise me that you can keep this a secret? You haven't told us anything yet, Lyra reminded him. And I won't tell you much more. Just promise me you will not talk about what you saw here to anyone. Does Mum and Dad know about this? Lyra asked. Yes, Harry nodded. Then I have no one else to tell in any case. Lyra shrugged. Other than their Uncle Remus and Holly, everyone she ever talked with regularly already knew. I can promise you that I won't tell anyone. I'm very good at keeping secrets, Ginny said. Contract, Astoria reminded him. The binding contract her father had signed would affect the entire family and prevent them from divulging damaging secrets they learned about the Potters. Of course, it also worked the other way around. Harry wasn't sure how much Astoria was told about the contract, but that part was only referring to life or dead types of secrets, like revealing the location of their manor to Voldemort and his Death Eaters, and that kind of stuff. His doing magic during the summer is not something that would have that much importance, as far as the contract was concerned, but the girl seemed convinced otherwise, and he would not be correcting her since it was convenient for him. Okay, we promise not to tell anyone now. Can you at least answer a few questions? Lyra got closer to him. You can ask, but I can't promise I will answer. Lyra frowned. What were you doing here? Training. He told her the truth. Where did those monsters come from? Lyra wanted to point at their remains, but they were completely gone. I made them. Transfigurational construction is a branch of magic that you will learn during your NEWT's years. If go that far in transfiguration, NEWT, you can use magic for the 6th year already. Lyra was shocked. In reality, the golems he can make are far beyond the level of Hogwarts students, but at the very least, the basics can be learned in school. I would love to learn that, Ginny said with admiration. Where did you learn that magic? Did Dad give private lessons? Lyra asked. She remembers hearing that their father was quite exceptional at transfiguration at school. There was no answer from Harry. he rather keeps silent than lie to her. Are you really my brother? She seemed a bit hesitant to ask. His brother now was so different than the one she knew that it was becoming really hard to believe they were once the same person. Harry glanced at her. To enter here you had to say our house words, he stated, and she confirmed it. Do you know what they mean? To honor your blood? I guess it refers to one's family, isn't it? Lyra wasn't completely sure, but that sounded about right. He placed both hands on her shoulders. It means that your family is the most important thing, not just the present one but also the past. To honor, respect, and care for one's family. Lyra, I am your family, never doubt that. Ah, okay. Lyra stood baffled. Why can't my brothers speak like that? Ginny wondered out loud. Let us get out of here. I'll escort you three back to the manor proper. Harry started to walk towards the stairs and the three girls followed him. None of them wanted to stay here any longer. As they were passing through the painting, Lyra decided to ask, Harry, who is the old geezer in the painting? Harry turned around and waited until they had all passed to close the entrance. What if I told you that you just insulted the founder of our house? Lyra gasped. Oh no, really? Is he the founder? Harry shrugged. I don't know, but he is definitely an old ancestor, so be more respectful. Oh right, sorry. Lyra felt like she had been scolded by her parents. That painting is different than the ones at Hogwarts, right? My brothers told me the ones at the castle are very smart and you can even have conversations with them if you want to. Ginny commented. The ones at Hogwarts are living paintings. Those ones have been infused with the memories of the persons they once were, so they can talk and behave in a similar manner. He points at the painting. The old man inside had remained completely immobile the whole time. That is just a normal painting that someone enchanted to perform a specific task, is also part of the security system they put in here. Security system? So something bad would have happened if I didn't guess the correct password? Lyra asked, with concern. Oh yes, you lot were very lucky there. Too many mistakes and you would have activated the ward defenses. Harry delivered the words with a very grave tone. The girls opened their eyes widely. Even Astoria looked a bit scared. Dose, what would have happened to us? Lyra asked with hesitation. Something very bad. I won't go into gruesome details, said Harry. Merlin, exclaimed Ginny. Make sure you don't do something like that again. Old magical protections can be very dangerous. The three girls quickly nodded. In truth, he had no idea what would have happened if we're unable to guess the correct answer. Probably nothing serious, since Lyra is part of the family. But he decided that it was better to scare them a bit now lest they try to do something like this again in a more dangerous setting. Magical wards from ancient magical dwellings are not something one wants to threaten carelessly. The use of dark curses to punish intruders was a common occurrence before the ministry started to regulate their use until they were ultimately banned. Harry navigated the maze-like basement with no issues, as he had come here every day since he was given permission by his father. As they approached the exit of the basement, the girls became more relaxed and broke their silence. Say, Harry, you think I can practice magic here too? Maybe in a different room though, Lyra decided to ask. Harry gave her a glance. And what magic would you practice? You don't even have a wand yet. She made a pouting face that denoted her age. I'll get a wand very soon. A wand you don't know how to use yet. She was about to rebuke his comment when he interrupted her. What about this? Wait until next summer when you had at least your first year of school, and then we can go talk with Dad about you doing magic here. Lyra considered his suggestion for a moment. Okay, I think I can wait for a bit. Lyra, can I come too next summer? I don't think my parents would let me do much at home other than chores, said Ginny. Sure, Lyra grinned. Coming. Astoria also invited herself. Here we are. Harry opened the wooden door that led to the ground floor. Enjoy the rest of your morning, ladies. Lyra hit his shoulder in a playful manner. It doesn't suit you to talk like that. She then turned to look at her friends. Let's go to my room, we can play some games before lunch. Lyra and Astoria started to walk away, but Ginny stayed behind and stared at him. Is something wrong? Harry wondered what she wanted to tell him. When Dad is working and Mum is too busy in the house, I sometimes sneak into the shred and borrow one of my brother's brooms to fly around. My mum would kill me if she ever found out she doesn't want me to fly. Says it's too dangerous. I have only told Charlie and Bill, she said in a whisper so the other girls didn't hear. Harry was about to ask her why did she told him that, but then he realized, in her own way, she wanted to give him some reassurance. I understand, I'll make sure to keep your secret safe then. She smiled. And I'll keep yours, Ginny said, before turning around and running to catch up with Lyra and Astoria. The rest of the day passed peacefully and by late afternoon, Molly came to bring Ginny back home. Harry was glad that he was able to patch things up with her and that she enjoyed her visit this time at least. An hour later Lady Greengrass appeared out of the fireplace and took Astoria away. It was hard to tell if Astoria had a fun weekend since her face barely moved, but Celine seemed to think so. Harry wondered how his sister and her became friends. Maybe Astoria could express herself much better in the letters they exchange. Or maybe it was just a matter of lack of options, since Lyra cannot leave the house too often, just for some shopping with their mother, or for some party at the ministry. But in any case, now that it was over he could take it easy until the next weekend, when they were visiting the family vault. Key please, the goblin requested. Here it is. James handed him a golden key with intricate decorations carved into it, and the letter P placed at the top. The goblin examined the key until he seemed satisfied it was authentic. Follow me, Lord Potter and family. The goblin started to walk away and they had to hurry their steps to keep up with him. He eventually led them into a massive chamber with any minecarts stationed in it. It was a room that Harry remembered well from his first visit with Hagrid. It feels like it was an eternity ago. I was such a naive child back then. So much has happened since, Harry thought. The goblin climbed inside one of the carts and waited for the Potters to sit. Get yourself comfortable, Harry. It's going to be a long trip, his mother advised him. Really, he had already figured that his family vault would be located deeper than the trust vault he was familiar with. From what he recalled from the structure of the Gringotts underground vault system, the oldest the vault, the deeper it is located. How far are we talking about? James had a mischievous grin on his face. You'll have to wait and see. Harry wanted to roll his eyes. His father can sometimes behave in childish ways. After several minutes of minecart riding, they arrived at an area of Gringotts vaults that he remembered well, but not in a good way. This area contained the vaults of very old wizard families, and was under the protection of dragons. He even spotted the pale dragon they had used to make their escape from here, after stealing from the Lestrange vault. Let's hope I never have to do something like that again, he thought. Harry was expecting the cart to slow down and stop somewhere around here, but instead this one continued to go deeper. There's more? He asked with genuine surprise. He was sure that this was as deep as it went. We are getting close now, said Lily. I used to hate this next part as a kid. Always got sick, James recalled. Now, hold on to something, the goblin started to say after the cart stopped. Harry noticed that they had reached the end of the rail, but he could not see any vaults around here, just empty rocky walls and darkness. Ahead of them was a massive gap that seemed to go on forever, as it was impossible to see what lay further in. Where is the vault? Harry decided to ask. We are going down. The goblin in front of him huffed before pulling down a lever. Down? Hold it, there are no more rails, he shouted. Harry considered for a moment if this creature was trying to get them killed, but then he noticed his father grinning. The cart tipped forward and then, they started to descend in a completely vertical angle. Turns out he was wrong. The rails were not over. They still continued on the walls of this massive hole. This only lasted for a short but very intense seconds. And then he could finally see the bottom of the hole. After taking a turn at an impossible angle, they now found themselves in a very simple circular rocky chamber, barely illuminated by a few torches here and there. All around them were metallic doors with symbols on top of them. The cart continued to move until it reached the center of the chamber, and then it stopped. This was now the true end of the rail. There was nowhere else to go from here. We have arrived, said the goblin, despite the redundancy of the statement. That part is always so scary. Lily had her eyes closed the entire time. James chuckled and patted his back. What did you think of that, son? Was it fun? He chuckled. Harry placed his hand over his father's arm. Ouch! James made a jump. What happened? Lily was startled by the sudden shout. I just gave him a mild electrical shock, Harry answered. That was not mild at all, James cried. Wait, you did that without a wand? That's impressive. You can do wandless magic, Harry? Lily asked. She did not know much about what Harry could do when it came to magical skills. He had only talked about the most important events he went through during his past life. Just a few minor things. Harry shrugged. He couldn't do much with a complete lack of magical foci, but at least he wasn't completely defenseless. Still, he always likes to make sure he has some spare weapons at hand. Wizard, no magic here. The goblin looked to be extremely upset despite how little the display of magic was. Oh, I forgot to warn you. The security here is very strict. If you do any magic near any of the doors, it could trigger the goblin's defense, said James. Isn't this big hole enough defense? Who is going to come down here? Harry wondered. If you can recognize the owners of these vaults, I bet a lot of people would want to get inside them, James answered while pointing to a specific door. To this, Harry got closer to the doors so he could inspect the symbol on top. It was a golden griffin over a crimson field. What? This is Gryffindor vault? Wait a minute. Harry moved to the vault next to that one. A golden eagle over a blue field. Ravenclaw. The next one was a grey badger over a black and yellow field. Hufflepuff. And the next one, as he expected, was the black snake over a field of green. Slytherin. Why are the vaults of the 4 Hogwarts founders here? Is not just them. This chamber contains the vaults of the 11 families that form the Council of Wizards, said James. And our family is also here, of course, said Lily. Quite amazing, huh? James chuckled. But why are there vaults here? I have read about the 11 families who formed the old Wizard Council, and the founders of Hogwarts are not mentioned there, said Harry. That's because they were part of the original council that was created much before Hogwarts existed, but left shortly after the school was founded, or maybe they were forcibly removed is hard to tell. There is little information about that era. What we do know is that the 4 founder families had some disagreements with the other members of the council. Afterward they were replaced by 4 families that were considered worthy enough. Lestrange, Rosier, Malfoy and Parkinson, James explained. Those 4 I see now. Harry could speculate about the cause of their conflict. He doubted these old families were pleased to have their magical knowledge taught to everyone who attended the school. Later on there was one more replacement in the council. Lily said. The motive was a lot clearer this time. That family died out and disappeared, so it had to be replaced. She pointed at one distant door. That one. Harry approached the door with curiosity. It was rare for an old wizard family to go completely extinct. Something major, like a war, must have happened. Is that? The symbol displayed at the top of the door was something very familiar to him. Luna and her father had spent many years studying their history, but he never expected to find their vault here. The Peverells. That's right. Do you know about them? Not many people do. We don't understand for sure what happened to them, but there is an old tale related to that family, Lily said. Harry felt a strange sensation when he approached the door. Some sort of connection. What is this? Wizards. The angry voice of the goblin resounded all over the chamber. My time is gold and I don't appreciate it when it's being wasted. Right, let's open our vault then. Let's not anger this good goblin any further. James went to the door with the symbol of their family. The goblin grumbled something in his language and walked to their vault. Harry, come on, Lily called for him when she saw he wasn't moving. Harry gave the Peverell door one last look before following his mother. He wondered what was that about. What could be inside that vault? He arrived in time to see the goblin inserting the key in the middle of the mechanism, and giving it a twist. The gears started to turn, but the door didn't open yet. The goblin pulled out a small knife and gave it to James. Harry saw his father make a small cut on his finger and smear a drop of blood on a black plate situated next to the key. This is a necessary step. The door will not open without the blood of a Potter. James said this while looking at Harry. I understand. Harry understood that his father wanted to remember this well enough in case he had to come alone next time. The blood disappeared from the plate almost immediately and the mechanism came to life again. The door creaked and opened, leaving a big circular entrance into the vault. Let's go. James went first, and as he set one foot inside the room, this one became illuminated by dozens of magical torches. Whoa! Harry had never seen a mountain of gold this big. Even the one he once saw inside the Lestrange chamber paled in comparison. I know, I was also shocked the first time I saw it, said Lily. Our ancestors made some wise investments. Money is not something we have to worry about, thanks to them. Now follow me, I think is around here. James walked around the mountain of gold and went further inside. Harry walked while looking around the vault. There were lots of things in here. Paintings, furniture, clothes, and many boxes filled with who knows what is stored inside. It almost reminded him of the Room of Requirements, but whoever organized this place did a much better job than Hogwarts elves. Oh, before I forget, I promised Lyra to bring her something from here. It was the only way to convince her to stay at home with Holly. She really wanted to come here and see the family vault, Lily recalled. What are you thinking of getting her? James really hoped it was something legal at least. Just some nice piece of jewelry, maybe a ring or some pendant. James breathed a sigh of relief. There are boxes filled with that kind of stuff over there, he pointed. While his mother went on her quest for jewels, his father walked up to a big wardrobe that had been placed in one corner of the vault. Harry, help me move this thing. And remember, no magic here. Not even a bit. That looks really heavy. Harry stared at the ancient piece of furniture. If you don't want to see those books, that's fine by me. James crossed his arms. Why do I have the feeling that this is some sort of punishment? Fine, let's do this. The wardrobe was even heavier than Harry had initially thought, and despite their best efforts, they were only able to separate it from the wall by dragging one corner away. That should be good enough. James was feeling a bit out of breath. Harry examined the wall behind the wardrobe, but nothing strange could be seen at first glance. Are you sure is here? I was told the secret compartment was in a corner, behind an old wardrobe, so it has to be here, James replied. It was then that Harry noticed a small imperfection on the smooth rocky wall. There is something there, he pointed with his finger. Let me see. James ran his hand around that area until he felt something move. Here it is, he said with excitement. He applied more pressure and a small part of the wall moved aside, revealing an opening, no wider than 50 centimeters. The space looked small but was enough to hide a few important objects. Come on, Dad, let's see what's inside, Harry urged his father. Nay. In case you were curious, the original 11 members of the Wizard Council are Potter, Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Greengrass, Black, Carrow, Longbottom, Bones, Peverell, and the substitute for the Peverells ended up being the Gaunt family. James put his hands inside the opening and pulled the contents outside. That's all? Harry wasn't expecting much given the size of the hole, but he felt a bit disappointed when he saw his father pull out 4 books and a small black box. That's it. There isn't much room in there. Our ancestors must have considered these the most important ones to preserve. James looked down at the books. He then walked to a nearby marble table and placed the 4 books and the box on top. Lily, we found the books. Come here. That's great, dear. Give me a second, I'm almost done here. Moments later they saw her coming over with a wooden jewelry box in her hands. What did you pick for Lyra? Asked James. Well, I couldn't decide on one, so I selected a few pieces for her to choose from later at home. Lily smiled and placed the box on the table. This one made a loud noise at the impact. That looks heavy, Harry noticed. James didn't seem to care that much about his wife filling a box with expensive jewels. Let's see those books. Lily picked the book at the top. Malgamum Compendium. It is written in Latin. She pointed out, not that she was having any trouble reading it. Harry took the second one. This one is in Old Gaelic. Can you read it? Asked James. Just a bit, but I can already tell I'm not interested in this. This is a book about druid magic, Harry explained. Oh, I didn't know we had any druids in our family, James said with interest. He's an old family. Maybe an ancestor married someone from a druid clan and their descendants inherited a few spells. They are not very useful thoughts. Druid magic can be strong, but it has many downsides, like only being able to do certain magic under specific circumstances, or needing a large number of druids to perform the strongest conjurations. You seem to know a lot of them. How is that? His father asked. I knew someone who was obsessed with this type of ancient magic. She also read a lot about shamans and their elemental rituals. Now, those were a bit more useful, he recalled. Harry placed the book down and took the next one. James had noticed that his son didn't want to go into details about that topic and didn't ask any more questions, although Harry had told them many things about his previous life. His tales always become very vague when it comes to talking about his old companions. Harry uses the terms "a friend did this," or "I knew someone who liked that," but never mentions the names of those people. Human Transfigurations. Harry read the name of the book in his hands. The title caught the attention of James and Lily. Human Transfigurations, Lily observed the cover of the book. But those are not illegal. Even I could turn someone into a pig. Yes, there is also the Animagus transformation. They form part of the Human Transfiguration branch. They are regulated by the ministry, but not illegal, said James. Harry grew more curious and started to flip through the contents of the book. At least this one was written in fairly modern English. At first he only found some basic transfigurations that even modern Hogwarts students could perform. Ah, I think I see why this is here. Well, tell us. What is it? James looked at him. Yes, what did you find? Lily approached and looked at the page he was in. Permanence Mutotio. Around midway through the book, it starts to talk into detail about permanent transfigurations that can be performed on the human body. Harry commented, permanent. Lily frowned. All the transfigurations she knew had temporary effects. Once the magic runs out, the transfiguration ends and the object of the spells returns to whatever form it has. When it comes to humans, the effects last even less, because the person's own magic will interfere with the spell itself. What kind of transfigurations are we talking about? Asked James. Growing extra limbs, become taller, bigger, shorter, change the gender. There are lots of them here. Harry talked as he flipped through the pages. Can it be used on others? Lily wanted to know. Yes, and can even be used against the will of the target. That seems to be the main form of use that is described here. Harry said, that horrifying to permanently change someone against their will like that. Lily exclaimed. Why did my family have something like this? James wondered. What about that one, Mom? Harry pointed at the one she had been reading. This one is filled with some very nasty dark curses. Lily pushed the old tome away from her. I stopped reading when I got to one curse that would liquefy a person's intestines and make them come out from their, That sounds useful. Harry glanced at the book. Harry! How can you say that? His father reprimanded him. I didn't mean that particular one, but knowing a few of these old curses could save your life one day. He tried to explain his reasoning. How so? Lily seems genuinely curious. Modern protections like the Protego charm would not work against many of these old curses. Also, using spells your opponent is not familiar with can be very helpful, since they would not know how to counter you. Having said that, Harry had zero interest in that book. In his past he had already gone through the entire Black family library, as well as the ones of many Death Eaters they had killed. There will be nothing new for him to learn from there. His eyes moved to the last book, hoping that this one would have something useful. It had a black leather exterior and no title or wording of any kind on the surface. Anything interesting there? Lily gave him a few minutes to read before approaching him. She noticed it was written in Latin and filled with symbols on every page. These are rituals, Harry finally said. Ritual? Well, I was expecting at least one of those here. James said. What kind of rituals? Lily asked. Let's see. This one is to enhance some of your senses. There are some for your physical abilities, magical capacity, being able to see at night, resistance to poisons and venoms, resistance to elements, seems quite complete. Oh, those sounds too good to be true. I bet there is some downside to them. She never had the chance to study ritual spells as the ministry declared any information about them as illegal, but she knew that nothing was completely free in this world. There are plenty of downsides. James joined the conversations. I heard so many horror stories about people who performed rituals on themselves. Let me tell you about it. Stories? Asked Lily. My mother told me about them. She had originally come from the Black family and these were commonly used among their members during her era. Sirius's family, I remember hearing about them, Lily said. Yeah, most of them were nasty folk, but coming back to the rituals, I recall hearing about a popular one that made you resistant to poisons and venom, but it also made you grow reptile scales on your skin, or one that could improve your eyesight but made your eyes red. Lily nodded. Did they not know about the after effects? Or they did do it despite them? People would often get addicted to these rituals. They will try to counter the downside of one ritual with another one, and in the end they would just look inhuman. Remember what Voldemort was like during the last time we encountered him. How can I forget him? He looked terrifying with his pale skin and red eyes. Lily shivered at the mere thought of that man. That's the reason for the ministry to ban all use of rituals, even if not all of them were as harmful, explained James. Harry remained quiet during the exchange. What his father said was not wrong, but there was more to that. Not all rituals had grievous downsides or there were ones worth paying. He only planned on performing a single ritual on himself. He didn't want to bother with minor ones like gaining the ability to see better at night or gain resistance to an element. He could gain those benefits without having to modify his own body. He could enchant his glasses to gain a form of night vision or enchant his robes to be more resistant to fire. No, the one he had planned on performing next year was one ritual that would greatly enhance his physical capabilities. Most wizards underestimate just how important being able to move faster or have a higher stamina could be during a fight. This ritual does have a price though. Whoever performs it on himself will suffer from a reduced life expectancy, but that was a price he was more than willing to pay. The only reason he never performed that ritual on himself during his past life was simply because he lacked the materials. During the war, finding any rare magical ingredient had become almost impossible. If it wasn't for that, he would not have hesitated. In the end, it seems like this trip was a waste of time. I should have expected this after all. The Blacks were as old if not older than the Potters and with fewer morals, so their library remained untouched, no matter how many new laws the ministry declared, and I went through their books many times. Huh? What is this? The name of the last ritual got his attention. Soul bonding ritual. Magic that affected the soul was extremely rare, even among ancient families. He could only recall a handful of spells that could do that. Let me see that too. Lily became interested. A ritual that can connect the souls of two people together so they are never separated. How romantic. Connecting two souls. That sounds too fantastical, even for the magical world, James commented. Not so much. In the past, Voldemort used a ritual to sever pieces of his soul and tied them to objects in the mortal realm. This prevented his soul from ever leaving even if his body was destroyed, allowing him the possibility of returning to a new body. Harry gave them a simple explanation of the Horcruxes. So he could never die. But you said that he made a deal with demons to achieve his immortality, James recalled. There are many ways to gain something resemblant to immortality and none of them are infallible. We found and destroyed the soul containers he created. This made him feel vulnerable once more, and drove him to make the deal, said Harry. Why didn't he create more of these containers and hide them again? Lily asked. He couldn't make more to create a single container. He had to sever a piece of his own soul. You don't think there is a big downside to doing something like that? Not to mention doing it several times. What a crazy bastard he was. You think our Voldemort also used that same ritual? Lily asked with dread in her voice. Harry hesitated with what to answer. I don't know. Sorry. He truly didn't know. He had pondered many times about this matter, but in the end he had no idea what could have happened to the Horcruxes. Were they recalled, destroyed, or did he never make them in this world? He would love to know for sure. He's okay, son. We are all in this together. We will figure it out. James patted his back. Well, now it doesn't sound as romantic anymore. Lily stared at the last page of the ritual book. Harry examined the content of the page with care. No, this is very different than what he did. It just connects two souls to each other, but will not keep them anchored to the mortal realm. This is not meant to be used as a method to archive any kind of immortality, just to keep two people from separating. It's a relief to know that my family didn't store such a foul piece of magic at least. But I'm not particularly happy either with what I have seen, James said. So what do you plan to do with these books? I have no need for them at the moment. You can put them back in their hiding spot, he answered. I want to keep the one about druid magic if you don't mind. It seems like an interesting read, and I'm in need of improving my old Gaelic. Lily chuckled. I suppose that one is the lesser evil here. James comforted himself. I'm surprised you didn't want to take the one with all the dark curses. You said it was useful. He glanced at his son. Don't need it. I already have an abundance of those. I was thinking that I should teach the two of you a few of them.
What?
You want us to learn that kind of dark magic? James looked very displeased. This went against everything he had been taught. I want you to stay alive, and if learning some illegal curses can increase the odds, even if it's just a little bit, then yes, I want you to learn them, was Harry's answer. James looked at his wife for support. I think Harry is right. What happened that day in Diagon Alley was the scariest day of my life. Lily brought her son closer and hugged him. If I didn't have my hero with me, I'd rather not think what could have happened. Mom, Harry complained. What if next time it happens when I am alone, or with Holly, or Lyra? I want it stronger, James. I want to be strong enough to protect my family from those who wish them harm. Lily's eyes were filled with determination, and James knew this was another lost battle. Fine, we'll discuss this at home. He relented. James stood up and was about to put the books back when he saw the small black box. We forgot about this thing. Right, let's open it, said Harry. I hope to at least get something from this trip. Wait, what if it's cursed or something? Lily examined the box. Why would it be cursed? This was left by our ancestors for us. James grabbed the box. But just in case, I will be the one who opens it. The box didn't seem to be locked, so James lifted the lid without any apparent issue. Huh? Why is this here? Oh, come on. What is it? Harry exclaimed with exasperation. Back at home, Harry was sitting under the shade of a tree while pondering about the Peverell vault and its connection with his family. For whatever reason, before the family had died out, they left for the Potters, their invisibility cloak and their vault key. Two tremendously valuable things that they would not have given away casually. If they were on friendly terms, the cloak would make sense. But why leave the key? When he suggested attempting to open the Peverell vault, his father had denied him firmly. According to him, all of the vaults in that chamber require both the key and someone of the family bloodline to open the door. Trying to open it otherwise could trigger security measures, which could put their lives in danger. Were they supposed to guard the key in case some descendant appeared, or maybe protect it from someone else? There was no way to know. If they left any documentation about that, it has been lost to time, unfortunately. And what about that sensation he felt when approaching the door? It was like something inside was calling him. What was that about? Could the Hallows be related to that vault? Harry was no stranger to those artifacts. The cloak was more than the rest, but at one point he even held all three of them at the same time. According to Luna, that would have made him the master of death. As silly as that sounds, he never felt anything different about himself or that he had any special power. He instead had worked hard to learn every piece of magic he knew. None of that was given to him by some mysterious artifact created by the embodiments of death. Of that he was sure. Harry, what do you think? Aren't they cute? The voice of his sister brought him back to reality. He looked up and saw his sister Lyra. She was smiling while showing a very flashy pair of earrings. They appeared to be made of gold and had some green emeralds encrusted in them that matched the color of her eyes. From all the things Mum brought back, you chose earrings. Harry was fairly sure she did not have her ears pierced the last time he saw her. Yes, they were too beautiful to pass, she exclaimed. I see. What did Dad have to say about them? Harry wasn't sure how he was going to react. Well, he wasn't happy at first, but Mom reminded him that I was already 11 years old and more than old enough to start wearing earrings. I guess he was not allowed much room for arguments. Harry noticed how his mother tended to win her conversations with his father. But you haven't answered my question, Harry. How do I look? She moved her dark red hair out of the way. Harry had never seen any pictures of his mother at this age, but she probably looked very close to what he was seeing now. You look great, Lyra. They make you seem very mature. Thank you. She had a toothy smile on her face. Are you going to wear them at Hogwarts? He asked. Of course. I can't wait to show Ginny. So, Astoria is not going after all. He had already imagined that would be the case. No, her mom says that her illness affects her ability to use magic, so she can't go to school. Lyra looked sad. I understand, that's too bad. He felt a bit conflicted about that girl's situation. He was confident to possess a method that could remove her curse, but that would involve revealing his knowledge about a branch of magic he preferred to leave forgotten, if possible, and it didn't seem like her life was at urgent risk or anything, so there is still the chance that Lord Greengrass can find another way to cure her. This next week I heard that Uncle Remus is coming to visit. He decided to change the subject to avoid depressing his sister with Astoria's situation. Yes, Uncle Remus always has some fun stories to tell. He travels a lot and always brings some souvenirs for us. This time he traveled to Romania, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll give us, Lyra said with excitement. He had only met this version of Remus once before, but he does look a lot less miserable than the one from his time. It was easy to tell why. With his parents alive who had wealth and connections, Remus did not have any problems landing a good job, despite his werewolf status, a job that also allows him to spend most of his time away from England, where the anti-werewolf laws were some of the most restrictive in the world. Having money, traveling and not being surrounded by bigots every day, had made Remus a fairly happy guy even if he was still miserable one day of the month. What is this? Lyra held her present with a mix of disappointment and confusion. That is a genuine vampire-killing steak, explained Remus, while they had dinner. Moony, don't give my daughter weird stuff, please. James raised an eyebrow. Remus chuckled. Well, the Romanian settlement where I was staying was very close to an important vampire clan, so most of the things they had for sale were vampire-related. I hope you didn't bring Holly some garlic necklace or something like that, Lily joked. Very funny, Lil, but actually, garlic doesn't do anything against a real vampire, Remus commented. Have you fought against a real vampire, Uncle Remus? Lyra asked with interest after putting the steak a good distance away from her. No, never fought one, luckily, but did talk to one a few years back. What a creepy fellow that was, but not too bad for a vampire, I suppose. He shrugged. Did you at least have a fun trip? Harry asked. Actually, Remus's face grew more serious. Moony, did something happen? James glanced at his old friend. It may be nothing, but things were strange there. Apparently, a lot of vampire clans had been disappearing all of a sudden, and no one knows why, explained Remus. Disappearing? Could someone be hunting them? Asked James. That's one possibility, but a hunt this massive would not go unnoticed. Is more likely that they are leaving to go somewhere else, said Remus. Is it a good thing that they are leaving? Asked Lyra. I mean, they are scary creatures that feed on human blood. Is not good, Lyra, not if we don't know where they're going, or what they are planning. Lily frowned. Harry leaned back on his chair. Vampires are moving. Those guys used to be his allies. Could it? Neville fought a vampire once. Holly shouted with excitement at remembering that fact. That just happened in a book. Don't be silly, said Lyra. You are silly. Holly got angry. Okay, you too. Lily sighed. So, anyways, Remus changed the theme of the conversation, leaving Harry with more questions that no one can answer at the moment. And another one. That makes this 10-0. James chuckled. That's not fair, you two are grown-ups. Lyra huffed. The next morning, their father called him and his sister to have a fun Quidditch game in the backyard. It was a 2 versus 2, so both teams played as chasers, and they had no keeper and no beaters. Remus was not incredible by any means, but he was not a bad flyer. After all, the man worked for the Numbers Company, traveling around the world, and making deals to sell brooms. He was also using a prototype of the Nimbus 2-100, a broom that would not appear on the market for a few more months. His father James, however, was still an amazing player. Even though he doesn't play much anymore, he still remains very close to the level of the professionals. If he never became interested in becoming an Auror, He could have definitely had a future in the big leagues. On the other team were only Lyra and Harry. Lyra had a talent for flying but was still a beginner, and Harry wasn't trying too hard at the moment. He just enjoyed the feeling of flying around in peace. "Come on, Harry. We have to at least score 1 point against those two," Lyra exclaimed. Harry grinned. "Okay, let's do 1 point to shut them up." He could not deny that request. "Fly up to there and pass me the quaffle," Harry pointed. Lyra nodded and got ready. "Okay, let's go." Harry warned the other player to get ready. Lyra flew very quickly to the left side of the field. Remus was getting close to her when she threw the ball toward Harry. Remus turned around and flew at him. Harry grabbed the quaffle and held it under his arm. When Remus tried to approach him, Harry spun around and passed beneath his uncle before shooting forward. His father was waiting for him near the goal ring. Passing by him would not be easy, so Harry decided not to try. He made an emergency stop before throwing the ball up in the air. This took James by surprise. He looked up, trying to locate the ball, but by then Harry was already flying again. Harry made a vertical spin and hit the quaffle with the back of his broom, propelling the ball forward and scoring a point. "What the?" James stood there baffled at what he saw. "Harry, how did you do that?" Remus approached. "Yes, take that." Lyra came screaming. "That was amazing, Harry. That was quite impressive. I don't know how did you made that broom move so fast." James said. "I gave it a small kick," Harry said. Remus and James' faces changed. "Harry, please tell me you didn't channel more magic to the broom," said Remus. "Harry, that's very dangerous," James scolded him. "Why? What did he do?" Lyra was confused. "How do I explain this? When you learn how to use your wand, you are going to learn how to channel your own magic through the wand while you say the words and make the wand movements," said James. "I know about that. That's the most basic stuff," Lyra huffed. "Wait, so you are saying that Harry used the magic broom as if it was a wand?" "Something like that. Brooms absorb a very small amount of magic as you fly. This is done automatically by the rune cluster inscribed on the wood, but if you manually add more magic, it's possible to make the brook travel faster for a short period of time," Remus explained. "Then what's the problem?" Lyra did not understand why they were upset. It seemed like Harry had done something admirable. "The problem is that the broom has no core to store the magic. It all goes to the rune cluster, and this one is very easy to burn down. If you burn down the runes, then your flying broom becomes a regular broom." It was Harry the one who explained it. "And you fall," added Lyra. "So you knew how dangerous it was." James glanced at him. "It's not too bad if you only do it for a second." Harry shrugged. "Harry, there is a good reason that tactic is banned from professionals. Quidditch, people have died in the past for doing that," explained Remus. "Okay, I get it. Why don't we end the game here? Lyra asked me to score 1 point, and that is done. We can take a break now." Harry did not feel like arguing about flying safety with his father and uncle. "Yes, let's do that. We should get cleaned up before lunch," said James. Harry," Remus called him. "Are you excited about your 12th birthday? Is there something in particular you want as a present? Are you going to give him a vampire tunic or something?" Lyra asked. She was still bitter about her souvenir. Remus chuckled. "No, that would make him look like Snape." "Ha ha, yeah, I bet that's where he gets those ugly robes he always wears." James laughed. "There is nothing in particular that I need, Uncle Remus." "Well, it is difficult to give a good to those who need nothing," Remus said. "I would like some more earnings," Lyra chipped in. "You just got those," James pointed. Hey, I'll remember it for your birthday, Lyra. I promise."